Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Rock. And for any significant assignment throughout this entire course, what I have done is recorded tutorials that relate to grading rubrics. A lot of times, I think things get lost in translation when you only use the written word, and sometimes it really helps to be able to unpack that and look at each item and make sure you really understand what is being asked of you. We use grading rubrics in all of the major assignments. And if there is any room for confusion or misunderstanding, I'd like to be proactive and clear that up ahead of time. So let's take a look here. This is kind of your first bigger assignment. This is the ethical lens discussion board assignment. It is worth, I believe, a total of 5 points, and this is the grading rubric. And I'm going to do my best to unpack this and try to make it as clear as I possibly can. Okay, so you will see that the grading rubrics are all in tables, and you are able to see all of the grading rubrics for all of the major assignments. That's not being hidden from you. And I would always encourage you to use the grading rubrics when you complete each assignment. And before you submit your assignment for grading, you should then go back and use the rubric as a checklist to make sure that you have covered all of the different aspects because it tells you exactly what's expected of you. Okay, so let's take a look at this particular rubric. You will get a 1/4 of a point just for completing your initial post on time. The initial post is the very first time that you post an answer. A lot of discussion boards require that you also make replies, but when I say initial, it's actually your first response to the question or a group of questions. In your initial post, you must also provide a brief personal introduction. Brief does not mean a dissertation, just a paragraph will do, but it has to be more than a sentence. So brief introduction about who you are, maybe a little bit about your professional experience, maybe a little bit of personal information if you care to choose. And that is worth a total of 0.25. This is incorrect, 0.25, so a 1/4 of 1 point. So make sure you make it thorough, but don't provide a dissertation. Okay, the next element of your initial post needs to have a summary of 4 ethical lenses, a summary. I don't want to see an 8-sentence paragraph on each of the ethical lenses because each of you is going to provide an initial post. So I want to make sure in that brief summary that you understand what those lenses are and how they operate, basically. Again, this is incorrect. This is worth 0.25 points, and I apologize for this error. I will clean that up. The next element in your initial post is your personal ethical lens inventory results. This is worth 1 point. So you can see that these first 3 elements combined are only worth 0.75 points. All of a sudden, we're jumping here to 1 whole point. That tells you as the student that this is important to me. This is a very important element of this assignment. And when things are weighted more heavily as far as their points are concerned, maybe you ought to invest a little bit more time in those parts of the assignment. So I want to know what did your ELI tell you? What were your results? What does that mean? Can you explain it in a way that is understandable to me and your peers? What do you understand about it? So on and so forth. So again, not a dissertation, but enough information that I know that you know what it means. All right, the next element of this initial post is How do you handle ethical dilemmas based on your ELI results? This part of the post is worth a half of a point. Still pretty significant, so don't ignore this. And I don't know why, but this part of the initial post is the one element that students tend to not address at all. I don't know why it's missed. I don't know why it's overlooked, but this is the part that is most often absent from an initial post. So please don't overlook that. In other words, this is asking you, based on your ethical lens inventory results, how are you most likely to handle those ethical dilemmas and those really tough situations professionally? The next element of your initial post needs to be whether or not, basically this is answering a question. Do you think that the ELI results are accurate for the most part? Yes and no, and maybe you can provide some examples. That would be a good way of validating your estimation of whether or not this is an accurate portrayal of you. And again, this part of the initial post is also worth a half of 1 point. The last part of the initial post is relating the ethical lens inventory results to concepts from modules 1 and 2 from the textbook. And this is the second most commonly missed element of the initial post. Again, I don't know why. I'm not sure if it is just unclear or students aren't sure exactly what's expected. But basically, what you need to do is you need to take information about your ethical lens inventory results, then go back to your textbook and look at the assigned chapters for modules 1 and 2, and you're going to need to make some correlations between what your ethical lens inventory results are and how it relates to those really key and important concepts from the assigned chapters in modules 1 and module 2. And if you run into some problems or you have some additional confusion about that, or just you're unclear what that may look like, please let me know and I'll be happy to walk you through that step by step. But again, you're just looking to make correlations. You're wanting to show that you understand key concepts from the textbook and how it relates to the results in your ethical lens inventory. This is not going to be a natural progression for a lot of you. It's going to maybe take some time, some consideration, and some sitting down and maybe thinking about how those concepts relate. But that's really what that is really what that particular element of the initial post is asking you to do. In fact, throughout this entire course, you're going to be really asked quite often to make correlations between, okay, here's a topic and here's a situation. Now, how does that tie to some of the key principles that you're learning about in ethics? So you're looking to weave those together and to make sense in the big picture. Okay, moving on. You are required to complete 2 reply posts. So you're going to be replying to 2 separate peers in the class. You get a quarter of a point just for doing it on time. So please make sure that you do that. You'll always want to do your best to complete assignments on time. And then the second element is the hard part. Okay, so initiated substantial posts and conversations with classmates in a professional yet personable manner, indicating research of the questions that are assigned to the classmates. Okay, so you don't want to be flippantly casual and say, hey Jane, hey John, great post. I like what you had to say. I agree with you, the end. Okay, that is neither professional, nor does it indicate that you have done any further research or shown any additional interest in what your peer had to say. The first time that you reply to a peer may be a little bit awkward and it may not be natural. I promise you, the more that you do this, the more that you will get used to this. A lot of students make the mistake of just simply reiterating what their peer said already. They just kind of rewrite it and change it up, and they say, yes, I agree, and that sounds good, and I had a situation like this. And adding personal experiences is absolutely appropriate for a lot of these situations, but you're going to want to start to step out into your role as a professional nurse, and you're going to want to show that you have taken this to the next step, that you found an article that corroborates something that you're saying, or maybe you don't agree with your peer and you want to play devil's advocate in a professional way. Wonderful. That's a great way to reply to a peer's post. And you'll see here that I've reiterated all of this at the bottom of the grading rubric. It says, simply providing a statement of agreement to a peer's post will result in no points. Take their post one step forward by asking thought-provoking questions, providing a personal example to show mastery of understanding, playing devil's advocate. But you're going to want to take it that next step. This is the very first discussion board that you're expected to do in this class. So we don't expect it to be perfect, but really step out and challenge yourself. The last thing that I want to draw to your attention is that in this course, APA, formatting, spelling, grammar, all of that great stuff that I know you love to hate, it is actually embedded in the grading rubrics. We don't pull that out and grade separately. So if you're struggling with your writing, we have a writing center at Frostburg State University. There's instructions for contacting the writing center in one of the tabs in Blackboard. I can't recall which one. They're happy to work with you, but it's important that you know that grammar is important. Sentence structure is important. APA formatting is important. Punctuation is important, and it is embedded. So if you are really struggling with your writing, it will show as far as the grading goes in the whole assignment. So again, if you are struggling, we have resources here for you through our writing center, our tutoring center, and we can help you along with that. It'll take some work and some effort on your part, but we definitely have resources for you. Okay, I think that that's all I wanted to cover in this particular tutorial. If you have any general questions, please ask them in the Q&A discussion board so that everyone benefits from the questions as well as the answers. And if I can provide any personal resources for you, please make sure that you email me. Best of luck. Thank you.